Welcome to a new video. I hope you had an amazing day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories, shall we? The first story is called, "She Made Me Fire Almost All of Them." I work as an administrative assistant at a major sporting goods retailer. Part of my job is to track attendance and regularly upload a report to corporate. My store manager just recently got hired by our district manager, who she has been friends with for years. They managed to push out the old store manager, who had the store running like a ticking clock. Ever since then, it has become abundantly clear that she has no idea how to run the store. And we have all suffered for it. She constantly screws up the store schedule, bullies employees she doesn't like, and has hired incompetent friends to management positions. We all dislike her and think she should be fired. But it seems like everything she does in the store makes us look bad while making her look good, until recently. Like I said above, part of my job is tracking attendance. Yet for years, it has been common knowledge that those in my position are expected to fail to upload attendance records to corporate because the company's policies on attendance are extremely harsh and many employees fail to meet attendance due to factors out of their control. For instance, employees who come in before we open to process our freight often clock in late because the managers on duty take their sweet time opening the front doors for these employees. It is not their fault that they come in late. And on some occasions, certain employees have been left outside for upwards of 30 minutes after ringing our doorbell because the only person who could open the doors was busy or didn't hear the doorbell, which is soft. Anyway, if I should upload the attendance record to corporate, many of these employees would probably be fired on the spot by our regional manager, through email, because these things are automated and mandatory. As a side note, the store manager is one of the managers who likes to take 10 or 15 minutes to open the door for freight employees. We all hate her for this because when it is winter, we have to wait those 10 or 15 minutes outside the door in the freezing cold and she acts like it is no big deal. Anyway, her district manager friend recently moved to another district and we got a new district manager, who is looking to move up the corporate ladder. To do this, she has to make all of our metrics look awesome, including attendance. She sent an email to our store manager, demanding an attendance record. I told the store manager that this could get many employees fired. But instead of realizing the implications, she told me to run the report anyway. I tried to tell her that this could result in most of the employees who had availability before we open, who are very valuable and rare, getting fired, and she completely blew me off. She literally went as far as saying that I was not thinking straight. I told her that she could adjust the attendance on her end as the district manager clearly wanted her to do. This has been a common procedure due to the reasons for poor attendance. But she told me that she was the store manager, she would figure it out, and I should just do my job as I was told. So I ran the report and immediately got a furious email from the new district manager, saying that I should have run the report by my store manager before uploading it to corporate. The next day, corporate sent an automated email with the names of all the employees that should be fired, which is not an email that our manager can either respond to or contest. She had to fire all the employees in the email. And as it turned out, every single employee with availability before we opened got fired. 15 people. And every other employee in the store is a student with no ability to work before 10, so there is nobody to process our freight. I got an email from a friend in corporate yesterday that said the regional manager was lining up a replacement for our store manager due to incompetence. None of us is surprised. The next story is called, "We Know What We Are Doing." We started instant issue debit and credit cards recently, probably 2 years ago, because we decided to join the 21st century and they worked great at our test location. So we decided to add them to all of our locations. The company we are using did a good job of setting everything up, so every location has a printer and you can easily see what location you are using and change to the correct location. It's practically foolproof. Well, you know what they say. When the world creates something foolproof, the world creates a bigger fool. Despite the fact that there were large icons and notices saying which location they were printing to, the employees were printing to the wrong location, meaning that members were thinking they are about to get their debit and credit cards and it was going to a different branch, sometimes up to 2 hours away. We sent out procedures to these people. We set up their defaults so that their branch matched their printer. They continued to print to the wrong one. So I decided to just remove the other branch printers from their logins. The only printer on each person's username was the on at their branch. This worked fine for about 5 months. That's when we hired a new branch manager at one of the branches. She was a loan officer at another branch and was moved. For some reason, she really hated the fact that she didn't have access to her old branch to print cards as well as her new one. Which made no sense to me. But she really wanted access, so I gave it to her. You would think that would be enough. No, she wanted all of her people to have access to other printers. I tried to explain to her what was happening before, but she didn't care. She pitched a fit at everyone and I was made out to look like a bad guy for not giving her a simple request. So I finally relented and gave all her people access. You can guess what started happening. Her people started printing to the wrong printers almost immediately. They just couldn't pay attention long enough to pick the correct one after changing to print to another branch for some reason. What's even worse is that her head teller 3 teams ordered supplies for her branch under another branch's printer. She was constantly down waiting on cards or a ribbon. She asked me to fix it, and I told her what I had done in the past and she was happy to let me remove the printers again. The third story is called, Being Called Out in a Meeting. I work in security and have been for years. A common practice is to complete a report of what happened during your time. I specifically work in patrols. Basically, you go from location to location, checking on each site. After each site, you write what you did at the location. I have 40 sites to watch over every night. For this reason, things tend to get very copy-paste. Most locations require the same thing. Check exterior, checking stairs doors damage, you get the point. I got a new manager, who is disconnected from how patrols work. He wants us to make unique entries into every single log. When I mean unique, I mean none can be close to similar. So, if I state I patrolled the exterior of the building, I can't use that phrase for any of the other logs. You can see how that could cause me a lot of problems and is a massive time waster. After about a week of being borderline harassed, and threatened to make each log 100% unique or else, I decided to go on the malicious mode. We have so much to look after, that we have thick binders giving detailed information for each site, and what's required of you. They are called site orders. Every time I would complete a site, I just copy-pasted all the information into the log. Each log has a small window that you could put 50 words into before it becomes overwhelming to read. Each log I posted had no less than 500 words directly from the site orders. After my first day doing this, I expected to walk in and get yelled at. However, nothing happened. I got no emails, no talking to, zero reaction. However, I still hear that other security officers are still getting chewed out. So I decided to see how long I can get away with this. 2 months later, and still no one says anything, not a word. We have quarterly meetings to talk about accidents and how the patrol group is doing. What's going wrong and what's good. Cue the manager. The first thing he brings up is the logs, and how almost everyone is failing. How we all should know better. You are not kids. I shouldn't be holding your hands. The only adult in here besides me is this man. I look up at him, and his smile was almost disturbing. He then shows a log I wrote up. He begins to talk about how everyone should be like me. How no one deserved to work here but me. The looks I was getting from everyone was brutal. He talked for about 20 minutes, constantly using my name. He would have kept going, but I interrupted him. I asked why he called me out, and how inappropriate it was for him to do so. He looked at me and said, "Only children interrupt someone when they are talking." I told him that he has a strange obsession with children and he needed to get help. The room was dead silent for a solid 30 seconds as we made direct eye contact. I then turned to the group, telling them that I have been copy-pasting my report for the last 2 months. I told them that I just copy-pasted the site orders. Over and over again. The manager's face started getting really red. He, after all, wanted us to make unique logs. He started to scramble a bit as he pulled up other logs of mine. Only to show that everything I said was true. After that, the whole group jumped on him. Many had been screamed at for the exact thing I had been doing. It was brutal. I don't think I have ever seen so many people yell at one person at the same time. The manager slid into his chair just looking at the computer. It was 15 minutes of just utter verbal shouting. He quit a few weeks later. The last story is called, Just Do What I Say. During university, I used to work a lot of odd jobs to help pay for tuition. One job I had was to be an assistant for a faculty member that was a typical Karen. The job was supposed to be only admin tasks related to schoolwork. But I helped her with other tasks to pad my hours, such as helping her to move things to and from a storage locker, helping buy and move furniture and the like. Everything had to be done her way or else I would have to go back and redo it. At the end of the week, I would draft an email about the tasks I did and send it to the work-study program and Karen and get her to sign off on what I did. I don't think anyone read the body of the email or even cared. As long as Karen signed off on how many hours I worked, I got paid. 10 days before my contract ended, Karen buys a brand new car right off the lot. This car had keyless entry and start. At that time, this was uncommon and not many people around campus had it. During the last 5 days of my contract, Karen decided that she was going to get the most out of my labor. I stacked up at least 20 hours of work during finals. This was great for the cash, but not so great for studying. Most of the tasks she had me do had something to do with her new car. I am decently mechanically inclined and enjoy working on cars and motorcycles. Karen knew this and would have me do things for her new car, like installing a spoiler she bought off of eBay, putting fender flares on, etc. The last day I was scheduled to work for her was completely devoted to working on this car. The last task she had for me was to install a spare hider key box underneath her car and put a spare key in it. In a keyless entry car. I explained to her many times that by putting the keys for the car there would mean that anyone could open and drive it. She was furious that I fought her on installing the hider key and argued with me in the school's parking lot for just about an hour. She argued that if she forgot her keys she would be stranded and that she always had a spare key on all of her cars. I was adamant about not installing it until she threatened to not sign off on my hours. So I installed the key box and put her spare in it, got her to sign off on my last email and was very explicit with installing the key box, even saying in the email that I was against it, had concerns about the car and felt that I had to install it or she would not sign off on my hours. No fuss, no muss. I get paid the next day and complete the exit packet. I leave for break and when I come back, the work-study program director calls me in for a sit-down to talk about my work with Karen. Sure enough, her car was stolen only a week after the break started and I was being asked if I had anything to do with it. I told them to pull up the emails that I sent with my weekly reports and in the last one, it had my report on installing the key box and how against it I was. Luckily, I was back home for the break with family, working as a server for a pizza joint and was nowhere near my university. Unlucky for Karen, she never mentioned in the police report that she had put the keys on the outside of her car. After graduating 3 years later, I found out from some peers that she was never able to recover her car. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.